Hello, everybody. This is the group chat with Will Perry and Alan McInally from Footy Accumulators and our friends from Betfair as well. Al, the title race. What is the title race these days? For me, and I don't know about you, look, taking it back to your Aston Villa days, look, the title race was March, end of March, beginning of April. You got to be in the mix then, not January.
Yeah, but the reason we're talking about the title race is because we'll get someone at the top of the table that we didn't think was going to be there. We certainly didn't think they were going to be in the title race, and they are rock solid in it and looking much better over the last month. They've had a good December, good Christmas and New Year, and continue to win. I was saying to somebody the other day, I think you underestimate Burnley at Burnley, and I think Man United going to Burnley and beating them there. You know, I think City, Liverpool, or Tottenham would bite your hand off for a result like that. You know, I thought it was a really good result for Manchester United, and they're in it. I mean, okay, January. There's lots of things that are going to happen. There are going to be injuries. You know, with the world the way it is just now, there may be a COVID situation where 4 or 5 year players are not going to be available. But it's because we've got into the. Let's just say we're just getting to the bend and we're just about to get into that home stretch, because February will disappear really quickly and all of a sudden we'll be in March, Will. And then we can kind of really properly talk about the race. You want to talk about it because Man City are all of a sudden odds-on favourites.
Well, look, I'll tell you who's going to win the title race. I'll tell you who's going to win the title. It's Manchester City. It's a no-brainer. We've been that slow, silent team under the radar. No one's been talking about us because we've always been sort of 2 games behind as well. And all right, we had a bit of a shaky start. Diaz and Stones, brick wall, unstoppable, right? Aguero coming back to fitness, all right. What's that?
Better. Not brick wall, better.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, we've had 16 clean sheets in 25 games. That's quite a lot.
True. Very good.
15 and 26, something like that. Anyway, right? So Manchester City are going to win the Premier League title race. And I'll tell you this, because here's our next 3 games. Well, 4 of our next 5 games, Crystal Palace, West Brom, Sheffield United and Burnley. Okay? Even by that stage, we still have the 2 games in hand, because our games in hand are against Everton and against Aston Villa, who we haven't played as well. So, by that stage, we could already have a 3-4 point lead in the Premier League. Liverpool... Let's be honest with Liverpool. I mean, they're a fantastic team, but if Liverpool had performed anywhere near like they did this stage last season, and you're never going to be able to do that back to back. We had the same problem the year before that. Liverpool would have had it wrapped up by now if Thiago was fit and everyone had been fit as well. But I just think City are going about their business under the radar. We're not even smashing teams, are we? We're winning by a goal or 2, unlike the City from a couple of seasons ago. You remember the 100-point season, the 98-point season. We're winning 5-1, 5-2, but always conceding. Whereas now we're keeping clean sheets and just winning by a couple, and all of that without a number 9. Aguero hasn't been fit out.
That was what I was going to say. Now, after that wonderful rant you just had, it's very difficult to pick holes in it because all of it, what you said, is spot on. The only thing is, Pep Guardiola, genius, plays Jesus as a left wing back, and for 15 minutes he was Brighton's best player. I mean, seriously. And then realised, hang on a minute, this is definitely not working. Tell Sterling to get warmed up, bring him on the left-hand side, put Jesus up the top where he's not a problem. Now, it was the first time I really genuinely thought, well, seriously, Jesus is not the answer to win the title. If they don't bring in a striker in January, I don't think it was easy for you as you think that City are going to win the title. I do think Liverpool at the moment are, and rudderless is the wrong thing to say. That's not true because as a captain, Jordan Henderson's brilliant. But losing the big Dutchman at the back has been so problematic for Liverpool in terms of when you're in the dressing room and you turn around and you see him there, never mind when you cross the white line. It's been a massive problem for Liverpool. And that is maybe the reason where... And I'm still going to go for Liverpool because I think the front 3 and any of the helpers beyond that, I still think are going to score plenty of goals, but they're going to have to have their shooting boots on in this last part of the season. Because Liverpool keeping clean sheets now is not a foregone conclusion. Yeah. And United, and I say again, I'm not Pogba's biggest fan because I think it's all about Paul. But all of a sudden, Fernandes has almost eclipsed anything he's done, Pogba, so far at Manchester United, because he's the number 1 man. And I don't know whether Pogba psychologically or even just because Fernandes is there, he's taken a step back. He's a better. He doesn't look as if he's under so much pressure anymore. And all of a sudden, Man United are getting performances from Paul Pogba that are much better. Now, if you've got Fernandes and Pogba playing like that, then Man United surely must be in the title race. I think it's between United, City, and Liverpool. The rest for me don't count.
I agree with you, and I think City need the goals, and that is going to be a problem. Whether they get a striker in January, I'm not. I think that's more of a longer-term plan in terms of the summer and getting that person who is going to be Aguero's long-term successor. But for me,
I'm glad you said that. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm glad you said that. Well, seriously, if they don't bring in a striker, do you think City will continue just to go along the season, not blow teams away, and just win the 1-0s and the 2-1s and the 1-0s and the 1-0s? It's really difficult to do, Will. Yeah. Really difficult to do. And then you're putting a lot of pressure on Diaz and Stones and Cancelo and Zinchenko and your goalkeeper to make sure that you go. Because, okay, here's a bet. We should ask Betfair for this one. What price City to go down through the season now and not concede a goal? They'll give you 100 to 1, for God's sakes. That's not going to be the case. And that's what you're expecting City to do if they're going to win the title. Because if they don't bring in a forward and you're relying just on Jesus, and we'll forget about Aguero just now because he's not available, and with a bit of luck he will, but is he going to come back for 2 games and miss 3? I don't know if that's going to be enough for City, mate.
I mean, look, we're on a hot run at the moment, 7 wins on the trot, but my point being that they need the other players then, your Mahrez's, your Sterling's, to be coming in with these goals. And you look at Raheem Sterling, right? You look how sensational Raheem Sterling has been over the last 3 years. Okay, really it's not quite clicking this season, whether that's fatigue or whatever. He skied a penalty last night, and Raheem Sterling has scored 2 goals, Al, in his last 15 games in all competitions. He got 35 last season, so we're clearly missing his goals. But a few months ago, you would have said that the fizz was missing from City champagne. The bubbles are certainly back now.
Yeah, and then, of course, we throw Foden into the mix because he looks as though he's going to be one that's going to get a goal every game. There's one to kind of back up City winning the league. You have the best player in the Premiership, or one of the best players in the world, in Kevin De Bruyne, who the other night there was just brilliant. I mean, he was just absolutely brilliant. He's so good. I mean, he is just so good. Yeah, you're right. The return from Sterling in terms of goals hasn't been as good, and Raheem will know that. But the only thing is, I wasn't really that happy with him just coming on, taking the pen. It's easy saying that sitting here now and he's missed the pen, but I genuinely wasn't. And I go back to Riyad Mahrez. I think he's been a lucky boy getting to City. He's done okay, but I don't think he's at the level that Pep Guardiola wants Man City to be at and his players to be at. Certainly going forward, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a few imponderables or a few bumps in the road that Man City still need to level out for me, for them to be absolutely thinking, yeah, I'll have 100 quid on City to win the league at odds on, because at the moment in time, I'd be wanting to lay that bet all day long.
What about Phil Foden? How sort of Pep is managing him at the moment? Do you think that Phil Foden has I know we talk about his potential, but do you think he's got the ability mixed in with the potential to be as good as Kevin De Bruyne, that kind of level of player? Is he going to be a 20-plus goal scorer for City? He's got 10 already this season and hardly starts, does he?
Yeah, no, listen, I don't forget about the potential. I think he's there. I think he's there now. There is no potential. There's only potential for Phil Foden to become exactly what you said, Kevin De Bruyne, or a 20-goal midfield player. How many 20-goal midfield players have England had? Right in my head, right away, you say Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard. Well, I said that was a different generation ago. You haven't had one since then. And Phil is absolutely on that trajectory that he could easily get 20 goals. But you're putting a lot of weight on his shoulders there. But so far, for me, I think he carries it brilliant. Everybody's expecting him. Well, he's the next David Silva. No, he's not. He's the player right now, Phil Foden, that Man City rely on to get you a goal, because at the moment in time, you've got no number 9, Sterling's not doing it, and Mahrez is not doing it. So if midfield players are not scoring goals, City ain't winning a game. That's how good Phil Foden has been. 20 goals a season? Will he get 20? He might this season. But that's what he'll be. Listen, there's no way he starts the season thinking I'll get 20. He might start thinking I could maybe bag 12 or 15, but that's not his main job, Phil Foden. But at the moment in time, it's a good job he has got his shooting boots on, because I don't think City would be where they are without him.
Yeah. I mean, with Foden as well, do you think that Pep should start him more? I mean, I know he has his best
Yes.
interests at heart, but should he now at 20 years old, you take yourself back to being 20,
Yeah.
he's still developing as a man, his muscular structure, everything, but should he be playing more 90 minutes?
I would like to see him start more because I think he deserves it. Not because, listen, as a young man at 20 years old, all guys, I played with guys who were 16, 17, who were ahead of people. And then, people catch you up. And then when they get to 21, 22, all of a sudden, they're not playing in the first team because they haven't developed as quick or they haven't got as good or the level is just plateaued out a little bit and they haven't gone on. Foden, for me, has got better and better and better and better. And he will get stronger and he will get better, incidentally. I'll guarantee he'll get better because he's got a really good football brain. He glides over the grass as well. He doesn't look as if he's fighting his technique, if you know. Do you know what I mean by that, Will? He doesn't look as if he's fighting it. He doesn't look as if he struggles with particular injuries at the moment. He looks very graceful when he's on the ball and he gets his head up, which is the main thing, and he looks that way, not so much left to right. That's the best thing I like about Phil Foden because he likes to get into the box and do his thing. 20 years old, I would give him his head right now. Seriously, go on, son. Go on. We'll worry about it when you're 21 if there's a little fatigue. But right now, I think he's as good as anybody in the Man City squad and deserves a first-team start or more first-team starts.
What about Liverpool? We talk about their centre-back crisis. And look, it is a crisis as much as Jurgen Klopp won't want to say it is. Playing Jordan Henderson at centre-back and obviously having lost Matip recently as well. He doesn't really know what he can do there, and he is plugging the gap, like playing Henderson at Southampton, for example. Huge game against Manchester United. And I'm just looking a bit further ahead. Look, the window is open. He wouldn't have thought I'm going to have to go out and spend £50 million plus on a defender this window, but now he might have to do that if they're going to be in the mix. There are 5 teams in the Premier League this season, Al, who conceded fewer goals than Liverpool, and I know they had that freak game against Aston Villa, which puts it a little bit out of perspective, the league. They've conceded the same amount of goals as West Ham, as Burnley. The talk of Koulibaly is back. There's talk of Koulibaly's understudy at Napoli, Nikola Maximovic, as well. He's the same age, 29. But we know what the Napoli owner is all about, De Laurentiis. He's claiming money like £100 million for those sort of things.
Money.
If you're Klopp now and you're the guys looking at the scouting department at Liverpool, director of football, who are you looking at options-wise? Because you can't surely just risk it and go through with Nat Phillips and Reece Williams, can you? Or do they need to bring in something at least in January?
I said it on our Football Accumulators group chat when this incident happened. Press the red button and look at the record. Liverpool, without Van Dijk, will struggle. They won't win the Champions League, and they'll struggle to retain the league title. If he doesn't bring in a centre-half or a good defender that can play in a 3 or a 2, Liverpool won't win the league. That's it for me. You cannot rely on Jordan Henderson. As much as I love Jordan Henderson, it's not his position. It was like Jesus playing in the left-hand side the other night there against Brighton. Not his position. Fish out of water. No good. They need to bring in a bona fide, with experience, by the way, because everybody else you're talking about just now doesn't have that experience. And Liverpool, there's a difference from playing for Brighton, Southampton, Burnley. Think of somebody else, Al, in the Premiership. There's a difference about playing for Manchester United, Liverpool, Man City, Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. There's a difference, Will. It's hard to explain to you, but you don't have the luxury of, oh, it's okay, we didn't win today. Can't have that. You can't even have that in training. You have to win, and you have to win every game. Otherwise, you'll always be under pressure, and you'll be always scrutinised more because, A, of the weight of the football club that it carries, and obviously expectancy from the players they sign. Liverpool need to bring in a centre-half, or they're not going to win the title.
And if I was to push you on a name, who would you go for that's out there, that's available? That, realistically, you're still going to have to spend 60 million, 70 million quid, aren't you?
Well, one of the teams that have gone, not viral, that's the wrong word, isn't it? Who have been really good this year is AC Milan. Probably because Ibrahimovic is there. He's just so good, isn't he? I mean, he's like a golfing. He's like a football god. But the boy, Alessio Romagnoli, who's only 25, he's been absolutely brilliant. And I was writing down a few of the names. I mean, I know Koulibaly from Napoli, etc. But the boy Skriniar at Inter Milan's done well. But this boy Romagnoli, Inter Milan, 25, been really good. Got to watch him. He's excellent. Mm-hmm. There's a boy Torino Izzo's done all right, and obviously Upamecano's going to be mentioned, and so is Kimpembe is going to be mentioned. I'm trying to think of some of the top defenders. David Alaba, who looks as though he's going to be leaving Bayern, but I think he's probably destined for Real Madrid. There's plenty of names that you could go out and get that wouldn't cost you maybe 50 million, that you might get them for a little less. But if it's going to cost you 50 million, then that's modern day trying to bring players in. The other thing is that Klopp, I would imagine, won't be that happy is whoever he does bring in, if he does bring MD in January, is going to be over an inflated price. And that's why he's probably a little negative in terms of, I don't want to be taken to the cleaners just because he knows we need another defender, but doesn't want to pay, instead of 40 million, 75 million. It's a difficult position for him to be in. But there's certainly players, and I'm going to throw Romagnoli in from AC Milan. I think he's been absolutely fantastic.
Right, let's talk about Newcastle. 7 points now, their cushion above the relegation places after that defeat against the rock-bottom side, Sheffield United, Al. You look at their next 3 games, okay? They've got Arsenal, right? They've got Leeds and they've got Everton to come. 3 tricky matches ahead for Steve Bruce. He's under pressure. And listen to these stats as well. Second bottom in terms of sequences or 10 passes or more, right? Sorry, third bottom. Second bottom in build-up attacks. High turnovers, bottom. Pressed sequences, second bottom. Opposition passes per defensive action, bottom. So in those advanced metrics, which is, what we're looking at, it's so negative, isn't it, from Newcastle?
I thought they were very negative the other night there against Sheffield United. In other words, they were trying to... And Callum Wilson did have a couple of chances, but I mean, a couple of chances away from home for Callum Wilson against Sheffield United is not good enough. Well, and that's exactly the word I'm going to use. Is I thought they were too negative, Newcastle, and thought we can just hold them at bay. We'll nick a goal on the break because they're not good enough to score against us. And they got a penalty. VAR gave them a penalty. I think the penalty was the correct decision, to be honest. I think he did use his hand to make sure the ball wasn't going to get anywhere near it. Albeit he was under massive pressure, defender. Was it? I can't remember who it was now. But the problem is those stats you've just given me will weigh heavily on Stevie Bruce. For the simple reason that he knows when he puts his 11 out, he's obviously given them some kind of game plan, but it doesn't ever seem to me look as though they're like, let's get forward, let's get the ball forward, let's get the ball forward. And that's all Sheffield United did, by the way. That's all John Fleck and Lundstrom did at the weekend, and Basham, when he came into the middle of the park, was get the ball forward, get them turning and get them facing their own goalkeeper, Carl Darlow. I don't see that from Newcastle. I genuinely don't. And I think he might not need to change it a little bit and just say, right, okay, listen, we've got a 7-point cushion here. We need goals, because if we don't, we're not going to win any games. And I think they have to have a little bit of I think we need to be a wee bit more aggressive here. Certainly in certain times of the game, rather than sitting back thinking we're containing it, I think you need to go and take a chance. Because at the moment in time, there's a slope that they're on, and it's getting slippier and slippier for Newcastle. I wouldn't want Newcastle to be relegated. I don't know why. I've got a soft spot for Newcastle, always do. It's a brilliant city. It's a brilliant football club. I mean, you go to a game at St James's Park, and it's full to the gunnels. It is just brilliant. It really is. There is an atmosphere that's just, we all love football. But the team at the moment in time, the fans will be like, no, this is not what we want to watch. And if you're to ask Newcastle fans, when was the last time you were actually happy, genuinely happy? You probably have to go back to Bobby Robson's days. I know they were under Rafa Benitez, and, they had a great season getting out of the Championship, and they love Rafa. They did love Rafa, and they wanted to keep him because he had that connection with the fans. Steve Bruce, you know him well. He came in, he was fighting an uphill battle as soon as he came in because of the Sunderland connection, and, they didn't want him. They never wanted him, despite him being a Geordie and a black and white through and through, from the day he was born. Yeah. But you look at the win percentage, and I know a lot of Rafa's games were in the Championship as well. 42.5% win percentage for Rafa, 31.3% under Steve Bruce. His remit, it seems, from Mike Ashley, the owner, is just to keep them
in the Premier League. There's nothing, he doesn't care, it seems to me, about being expansive, which you wouldn't think with the players that he'd signed, because they had a good window out, didn't they? And getting Callum Wilson, and getting Ryan Fraser, even Jeff Hendricks turned out to be a decent signing. Jamal Lewis, exciting young left back from Norwich City as well. So they've signed players, and I guess that's where it's more disappointing for the Newcastle fans, because they thought they were going to have a crack, and they just didn't. As an example, that Sheffield United game, there just was nothing going forward. On paper, to me, Al, tell me if I'm wrong, it looks so easy on paper. Everything does. But I would play Callum Wilson up top. I'd stick Matt Ritchie on the left. His delivery is brilliant. He's like James Milner with a left foot like that. Play him in an attacking position, not as a left back. He didn't even get on as a left back because he started Paul Dummett, who wasn't even fit. Then on the right-hand side, I'd play Fraser. Sam Maximan when he's fit in the 10. Already you've got a 4 there in a diamond, which is pretty exciting and probably a lot better than 10 teams in the Premier League.
Yeah, much better. I'm going to agree with you. The Sir Maxim not being available for him is a problem, because he's one of the best players going forward. I thought that Ryan Fraser was really poor. Take away the red card, or the 2 yellow cards rather. Take them away, because the first one he's tried to do his absolute best. It's a booking. Now you need to be careful. Now you genuinely need to be careful.
You don't need to make a foul there, do you? Where Fraser's made that foul, he didn't need to make. It was in the most ridiculous part of the pitch, and then 3 minutes and 3 seconds later, he gets his second yellow and his team are down to 10, and you can't have a crack when you're down to 10 against a team like Sheffield United at Bramall Lane.
No, well, the second one I don't think he needs to make. The first one, I think he's trying his very best, and it looks as though he's giving us everything he needs to give us, and he gives away the foul and it's a yellow card. You hold your hands up and go, okay, all right, we'll give it a yellow card. Now I'm saying he needs to be careful, and he wasn't particularly careful. He was a bit like carefree almost, and you're like, what are you doing just before half-time? And then all of a sudden, of course, it's back to the wall and Newcastle try and hold out. Okay, let's get back to the Matt Ritchie thing. Matt Ritchie shouldn't be playing left back. He should be playing, I don't care if you play him on the right or the left. He's got to play, because he's one of your most, not aggressive forwards, but certainly in terms of delivery, very creative. And also he's a good football player. Ryan Fraser, for me, has been a big disappointment. Genuine disappointment. Don't think he's been good enough. Paul Dummett, you could see Paul wasn't fit. And he was lucky a couple of times, actually, that Sheffield United actually didn't get more goals. The boy from Norwich that came in likes to get forward as well. The players you were talking about so far want to go forward. And certainly Callum Wilson, who incidentally, Sheffield Wednesday, as far as I'm aware, I think that was one of the clubs that wanted him, couldn't afford his wages, and Newcastle get him. Use him to his best advantage. Boy, he likes to put the ball in the net. He likes to get forward. He wants to be involved. And I don't even know whether actually the best thing for him to do is, and then players can't go, oh, I didn't really know, because players don't want any responsibility. God forbid any of them would take responsibility. Play 4-4-2 and play someone up top with Callum Wilson. Maybe that's what Newcastle just need to go. A little bit back to basics. Everybody knows their job. You've still got the 2 boys in the wide areas that want to get forward. And when you don't have the ball, you're a defender. And when you play in the front 2, one of them just sits in and tries to make it a 5, tries to make it a 2 when you've got the ball. That might be the best thing for them to do. Because at the moment in time, if Newcastle keep playing the way they are, then it's an inevitability they're going to be in a relegation battle.
And another £50 fine for Alan McInally for calling Sheffield United Sheffield Wednesday.
Ah, did I really?
It did.
Oh, honest to God.
They're queuing up outside
Sheffield,
your house.
Yeah, exactly. Sheffield United. There you go.
Right, let's take you north, Al. Let's take you back to your roots, and let's take you back to Celtic. Okay.
Oh, man.
I mean, look, we've talked a lot about the title race, and all right, they've still got those 3 games in hand. But Rangers, I mean, if they don't get this done, would be from this position a travesty, wouldn't it, for Steven Gerrard? But your thoughts on Celtic, Al, and particularly, the trip to Dubai, which has been criticised by quite a few people, including Nicola Sturgeon. Are the title hopes over? Did they need to go to Dubai? And the sort of repercussions having gone to Dubai, they've now got 13 teammates quarantining, including Neil Lennon, who's having to communicate via AirPods to his players at the ground. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it?
It's an absolute disaster. Listen, as a football player getting away with the lads, I'm assuring you will have something. There is nothing better. There is nothing better. If the team's going well, I mean, fortunately, touch wood, I was never really in a team that was struggling that badly. We needed a 10-day break to try and get everybody together. Our break was normally just a bit of a break, sort of, there's a few team meetings and remember what we have to do, and this is how we're going to do it. This has been the worst trip for a football club outcome is that I can actually remember. And you have to remember that they had been in a few Dubai trips before, come back, and it had kind of revived the team and revived the squad, and all the lads seem to be getting together. This one has just been an absolute disaster. I mean, a disaster. And apart from the fact that obviously this COVID thing, it's stripped right through the football club. Rangers are so far ahead. The whole thing's been an absolute disaster. I mean, not only that, and I know Neil Lennon's going to take a bit of stick for this, but I remember one of the players, and I can't remember who it was, because it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. He went to Ibiza overnight and came back when you weren't meant to. I mean, what the hell's going on there? So, Neil needs to get a grip of the football club, because I think he's maybe lost a little bit like that. And you can't really blame him thinking, right, okay, we're going to go to Dubai because we did before and it gave us a bit of a boost. And then he's taken stick from Nicola Sturgeon as well, she's the most unpopular person in Scotland anyway. Who cares what she says? But the fans are a bigger thing for me. What happened when they came back? They got a draw with Hibs. There was 7 or 8 players that he couldn't play, and the whole thing's been an absolute disaster. It really is. The whole season for Celtic has been a disaster. And this is just another of, you're just putting on top of each other. What's going to happen next? What in God's name is going to happen next at Celtic? It's going to be an even bigger disaster than what they've seen so far. The trip just did not work. And you're going to say to me now, well, should they have gone? Well, like I said, it was passed to go in November. Okay, the world is a different place at the moment. As a manager, would I have still wanted them to go? Probably. At the same time, you need to weigh up the pros and cons. And maybe now Neil's thinking, I wish the hell we hadn't gone to Dubai. I wish we'd gone down the Ayrshire coast where Celtic used to always go. That would have been far enough, and we could have got just the same out of it, and maybe saved ourselves a few quid and not needed to hire a private jet. So anyway, water under the bridge now. Rangers are, Rangers title all over.
They could have gone to Blackpool, couldn't they? Just a nice 3-hour trip down the road. Nice Blackpool Pleasure Beach. They could have got a little B&B there and had a training camp there. Look,
hey, just hang on a minute. The Ayrshire coast is 1 billion times better than Blackpool, trust me.
Is this retrievable? Just finally on Celtic. It's 11 points Rangers lead. Yeah, but they've got those 3 games in hand. They've got back-to-back games now, Celtic, against Livingston, who are going pretty well in the Scottish Premiership this season. All those players isolating with who knows when the manager's going to be allowed back, etc., etc. It is retrievable, isn't it? If they win 3 games on the trot and they win those 3 games in hand and reduce that lead. But the situation as it is not ideal.
Yes, it's retrievable because it's still a possibility. The bigger, with a capital N, no chance, is because A, he won't have his full squad to play from. B, even if they win all those games in hand, which is also a big if and a huge if. Listen, if this had been last year, you'd have said, give Celtic 9 points right now for the 3 games in hand because they'll win it, and then let's just see what happens when they play Rangers, and then there's a title run-in. That's not going to be the case, mate. It's just not. I don't see Celtic getting anywhere near Rangers this year. This is Rangers' season, and like I've already said, unfortunately for Celtic, there has just been calamity this season. It's just not been there. And now all of a sudden, Neil, with a full squad, might have thought, hey, listen, it's not out. No, there's still a possibility. But with the squad they've got just now, and the players they're not being able to call upon, and COVID-19 and the world the way it is just now, Rangers will be celebrating the title at the end of the year. Yeah.
And I need to go back to school and do some maths. I was never great at it at school. So it's 11 points Rangers lead. Try 21 for size.
Yeah, 21. Yeah. I think, no, you were right, though, because if they win their 3 games in hand, it's 11 points, is it not? Something like that.
Well, be nearer 11 points.
Something like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But nevertheless, listen, it's been a wonderful season for Rangers. Steven Gerrard deserves a pat in the back. Neil has been pushing rope up a hill from day one this season. He really has. He knows the performances haven't is good enough. They've already set the standard, remember, Celtic. This is what was expected of a Glasgow Celtic football player. They haven't been at that yet, and then put in all the other problems they've had, and the season's just been a bit of a nightmare for Celtic, and that's how it's probably going to end up for them. And they can hopefully dust themselves down and look forward to next year, because right now, at the moment in time, there won't be any Celtic fan that's happy watching what he's seen.
Yeah. Right, what are your thoughts on Declan Rice? Because everyone wants a slice of Declan Rice. We've talked about him a lot on the group chat. He's developed as a man. He's developed as a captain when Noble's not playing for West Ham. He's moved up the pitch. He's just a central focal point of West Ham's play. Will he go back to Chelsea? He loves Chelsea. That's where it started. He's got unfinished business there. His best mate, Mason Mount, is there. He knows Frank Lampard well. Abramovich likes him as well. He's released from that academy and he wants to go back and be a regular Premier League player in Chelsea, where it was his dream to be. Manchester United have come into the mix as well. So who would need him more, Al, out of Manchester United and Chelsea, a player like Declan Rice?
I don't think he should go back to Chelsea. The only problem is you've thrown me a curveball there saying he loves Chelsea. That's where it all started. Is he a Chelsea fan, presumably?
Yeah.
Right. First and foremost, if you buy Declan Rice, there is no way you're getting change out of 100 million. That's how I think of. I think of him on the same lines as a Phil Foden, on the same lines. And I don't care his best mates with Mason Mount. That wouldn't be the reason to go back to Chelsea, by the way. Forget about being best friends with somebody. Just because you want to play in the same team. I think that would be a mistake from Declan Rice. I can see him being wanted by Real Madrid. Because Cruz is coming to the end now, and I'm thinking, who could come in there? Declan Rice? Yeah, I think Declan Rice could play in Real Madrid's team. Could he play in Barcelona's team? Yeah, I think he could. Could he play in Manchester United? Sorry, let's answer the question. Right now, Chelsea would want him more than maybe Man United would want him, for sure. Maybe Man City would want him more than Chelsea, actually. I'll throw them in as well. But I can see him being sought by one of the big clubs in Europe, genuinely. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he'll end up at an English club. I think he's a really wonderful, exciting football player. And it seems to me, somebody was saying, that's not his best position, playing in the middle of the park. I'm like, well, he's making it look pretty easy at the moment. And I like him. He's one of my favourite young English players, genuinely, for ages and ages. And you've always had a few, but he is one of my favourites. And at the moment in time, he walks into that team. I'm going to say he's first in the team sheet, to be honest, at West Ham.
Yeah. He's 22 years old today. 22 years old. Happy birthday, Declan Rice.
Happy birthday, absolutely.
He's a baby. He's got everything ahead of him. And, what an exciting future ahead. Would he have been put off, do you think, if he is to think, I'm going back to Chelsea, by the Werner and the Havertz signings and seeing how things haven't quite clicked there, and there isn't really, at the moment, a lot of stability in terms of the long-term plan? You've suddenly got then Werner and Havertz on the bench, players that we thought would take the Premier League by storm.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think let's just say if he decides to go back to Chelsea, it's a wonderful signing by Chelsea, and he'll only help the likes of Havertz and Werner and everybody else that's in and around Chelsea. I just said I don't see him going back to Chelsea. Because I don't think it'd be the right thing for him just because he wants to play with his mate Mason Mount. Chelsea are a brilliant football club, by the way, and they have an owner that's got a few quid that could probably give West Ham 100 million for him right now and say we want him to come back, and then he's got a decision to make. I just think there'll be a lot more teams than Chelsea and Manchester United and Manchester City will be thinking we'll take him for 100 million. Genuinely, I think there's probably. Think of the players. I'll think the players. Kylian Mbappe, and I throw the names in terms of who are the biggest, youngest stars at the moment. Mbappe, Haaland, and I throw Declan Rice in there because I think he's on that level. He genuinely is on that level. And people will think, well, that's a bit much, Al. You're not going a bit over the top there. He's only at West Ham and he's only playing in the West Ham team. I'm saying if he was playing in a better team, I think he gets better. I genuinely do. And I don't think we've seen the best of Declan Rice yet. Yeah.
Right. High praise. Esteemed company, isn't it, for Declan Rice? What about Jesse Lingard, right? Jesse Lingard just signed a new contract at Manchester United. He's only just turned...
Whoa. He just signed a new contract?
Yeah.
Who the hell gave him that?
Well, he signed a new contract because I imagine to keep some value in him because he was running out of...
Fair enough. Yeah, it's more of an insurance policy. Okay, I get that. But I genuinely... I don't know how I missed that one, genuinely, because I just presumed he was on his way out.
Yeah. No, he signed a new 4-year contract. So they basically, well, what they did essentially is they triggered the 1 year extension. So he signed from the 4 year contract he signed. He had a 1 year extension. They triggered it to be able to keep him, to keep some value in him. So Jesse Lingard, right? He's 28 years old now. It seems to me at that age, as a professional footballer, it's now or never. He's made 3 appearances this season. Didn't play from September up until January. Played against Watford in the FA Cup. Yeah. What does he have to do now? Because he was an England regular. He was playing at major tournaments for England. I remember him doing his Michael Jackson dance and scoring at the Emirates. And he was kind of, one of the first names on the team sheet from a Manchester United point of view as well. And under all sorts of managers. Mourinho liked him quite a bit. Scoring goals in FA Cup finals. How does this guy need to get back to that player?
Him and Dele Alli are 2 of the mysteries at the moment in time in terms of young English football players that have just completely and utterly lost their way. Whether they think they've got to the top, we don't need to do as much anymore. There's that question's been thrown at them as though, you're making good money now. You should be trying that little bit harder than you even were before you got there. It just hasn't worked for him. And incidentally, he can't get in the Manchester United team because they've got better players ahead of him. It's as simple as that. And there's no one can change anything apart from Jesse. Jesse's the one that has to, stay longer out in the training pitch. Do what you were doing when you got into the team when you were younger, because now you've got a bit of experience under you. Surely you know up there what you need to do to get into the Manchester United team. He's been part of the Manchester United family for a long time now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the ACCA Challenge. And it has been quite a challenge. Sam Rossbottom.
I had a bit of tape to put over my mouth so I don't say absolutely nothing.
I can't speak this week. I said Wolves were going to beat Everton. We got it wrong. We won't talk about anything last week. Okay, this time, Al, you're still in the Championship though. You haven't made it quite back to the Premier League yet. I'm going to go for the 2-3. We're looking at 3 o'clock, Sam. Betfair is with us. And I'm going to go, Sam, for Leeds to beat Brighton at Ellen Road, 3 o'clock on Saturday, and West Ham to beat Burnley.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Leeds match. 2 sides that like to play open, attacking football. So I think it should be a good game. Brighton, have been playing well. They just haven't been getting the results. They looked pretty good at Manchester City in the midweek, but again, just couldn't find that quality in the final third. Brighton are 5-2 to go to Ellen Road and win. Leeds the favourites, odds on at 4-5. The draw there, 21-10. So looking interesting, that one. West Ham, 11-10 favourites to beat Burnley, who are 4-1 to go there and win. The draw 13-5.
What's our Championship man, our second division man, got for us?
Well, Bournemouth were a little bit disappointed midweek. They normally score lots of goals at home, but I'm going to stay with them to beat Luton. I thought Luton, over the last couple of weeks, have struggled. I thought they would do a little better. They haven't. So I'm going to go Bournemouth again as one of my choices. I'll be odds on, but I think this time, with a bit of luck, they'll get the finger out and realise what an opportunity they have to get out of this division. The other one is the Oracle's back in favour, or not in favour, he's back at QPR. Charlie Austin gets the first goal. Against Luton, actually, away from home, and they're at home to Wickham. Just perfectly gift wrapped for Charlie to come back, start the game, get the first goal for them, and QPR to win. So my 2 is going to be Bournemouth at home to beat Luton and QPR at home to beat Wickham.
Yeah, like you said there, Al, really good chance for Bournemouth to push on and really get back into that fight. They're still around there, don't get me wrong. They're quite a way off Norwich City, though, at the minute. They'll want to, push for the title. They're 11-20 to beat Luton, who are 5-1 to win. The draw 3-1 there. Like you mentioned, Charlie Austin got off to that fantastic start on his return against Luton. QPR, the favourites, 3-4 to win against Wickham, who are 10-3 in the draw. They're 11-4.
How can we lose this one? It's a banker.
So yeah, looking at that fourfold: Bournemouth, QPR, Leeds, West Ham, all to win, 9-1.
9-1.
Sam, I know he's going to say thanks everybody, and make sure you look at our football accumulator. What price is Brighton, Burnley, Luton, and Wickham, which is everybody else that we have? Hey, listen. This is the weekend, guys.
This is the weekend. I can smell it. I can sense it in all of our bones. Good to see you, Sam. See you next week. Right, Al, enjoyed that, mate. What are you up to this weekend? What game are you doing?
I am. There's only 2 3:00 on Saturday. They both go to studio, and I'm going to Blackburn against Stoke. Looking forward to that actually, because the boy Bradley Dack is back in the fold there, and Blackburn at the moment in time are probably still 6 or 7 points away from the playoffs, but are certainly going in the right direction under Tony Mowbray. And to be fair to Michael at Stoke, they've had some wonderful results at home, so if they can transfer that kind of form to away games, it should be pretty good. So Blackburn for me against Stoke Saturday. Where are you?
Nice. On Saturday, I'm doing West Ham Burnley, which is an interesting one. It's quite hard to call that, Al, isn't it? Because, I know you know David Moyes very well, but I think Burnley have played well there recently. I remember doing the game last season. I can't remember the result last season. I haven't done my research yet, but they had a good game. They did, I think. Yeah. And, obviously Sean Dyche likes a trip to London as well. And then I'm up to Manchester on Sunday, and I'm doing Manchester City against Crystal Palace. Can they make it 8 wins on the trot, Al, as they climb up the table towards May? When I've already told you, we'll be lifting. There'll be blue ribbons back on that thing in a few months' time. Good to speak to you, mate. Speak again next week, yeah?
All right, Paul. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.